ready for takeoff.
We are cleared for takeoff.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time to take flight in your community and in your life. This is Audio Airstrike.
This is Audio Airstrike. I'm Everett Hall-McNeill. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 192, and I want to get right down to it. We are talking about Kyrie, we're talking about the NBA, and yes, here we are again talking about vaccines. Now, I'm going to be honest. When it comes to Kyrie Irving, me personally, I am not going to take away somebody's livelihood if they decide not to get the vaccine. What I think that there could possibly be happening, there could possibly be an agenda to get as many people to take the vaccine as much as possible against their will, or well strip their livelihood away or stuff of that nature. And this is another incident where it seems like it's no different. To be honest with you, it seems like there's no difference. First of all, it's Kyrie's body, it's his choice. Since that is the term that a lot of people use when it comes to situations like this, I will use it for this situation because it's very apropos. If we respect everybody's freedom or liberty or religion or status of wherever they come from, we need to respect people's choices as well. And when I sit over here and I look at this, and when I think about what he is dealing with in terms of making a decision that was for his benefit, for himself, that is not hurting anybody else that we know of, what is the issue? Why are sports analysts causing such an upheaval? This goes back to the topic that I said last episode about Cole Beasley and Mark Cuban. I said on last episode, if that is their choice not to get unvaccinated, cool. If it's their choice to be vaccinated, cool. We need to have respect for the choices that people make, especially when it comes to this. And here we are again, villainizing Kyrie Irving. You may not like his attitude at times. You may not like the way he plays. You may not like the way he comes at stuff. You may not like the way he acts at certain times. It may not be your cup of tea. But he is an American. He's a man just like you. But I know there's some people that don't view it that way. And the one thing we have to stop doing is stop villainizing somebody the second that they decide they do not want to get vaccinated. That is what causes the seed of division. That's what causes it. We sit over here, we get mad, we get ticked off, we get frustrated over somebody else's choice. Why are we getting mad and frustrated over somebody else's choice? I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't rock with it. Because all that does is causes hatred, bitterness, and in the future, division. So why are we doing it? Another thing that I want to point out is if people don't want to get vaccinated, there is reasonable causes. People have still contracted COVID-19 even after getting vaccinated. I know people personally that have been hospitalized after taking the vaccine. I know people personally that have been literally had internal intestinal, issues, body function issues after taking the vaccine. I know people's skin have become discolored, looking like the Walking Dead after taking the vaccine. And if they had taken the second dose, they wouldn't be here anymore. So why are we sitting over here still under the impression that this vaccine is bulletproof to this particular disease when people that have the vaccine, that have been vaccinated, are still contracting COVID-19? But we want to turn around and villainize the unvaccinated. It's not right. Anybody that makes a decision to do either or, we should respect that decision. And that's how it has to be. We can't keep doing this over and over again. This is where division causes up. And my final thing is, this forced vaccine mandate has to stop. It's getting to be too much. It's becoming a situation where So you're literally going to come after my livelihood, everything that I work for, everything that I have aspired to be, because I refuse to do one thing. And this is my body at the end of the day. I'm very, very careful over what is put in my body. Especially if I'm not aware of the ramifications. These guys are athletes. There is reports of pulmonary diseases and complications in very, very, very reliable sources that point back to the COVID-19 vaccines. If you have a pre-existing condition with heart issues, I don't know if you should be taking the vaccine or not. I'm not a medical professional. I'm just stating my opinion. We are in a situation where we have no choice but to make the best decision for ourselves. And this back and forth hatred has to stop. It's never going to get to a point of solutions if we keep on doing stuff this way. It's only going to lead to more back and forth. And then also, let me point this out. Stephen A. Smith has been riding Kyrie Irving's back. Let me give a hypothetical here. And this may be a little bit extreme. But if Stephen A. Smith continued, and he probably will continue, knowing how he does things, he will continue on his rants about Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving caves in, gets the vaccine. Hypothetically, God forbid, he has a very, very crippling side effect that takes over his body due to that vaccine. What are these media outlets and people going to say then? Or are you going to try to change the narrative that he didn't get the vaccine at time and that's why he probably had that complication? Would that be the next step? What this is, when it comes to this vaccine mandate, is bullying. When we were told, even as early as last November into August, that no vaccine would be forced. This is a KGB type of feeling I'm getting right now. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, look up the KGB. I don't have time to explain it on here. But this is how it feels. If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. I applaud Kyrie for making a decision for himself not to get the vaccine. It's his decision. We can't keep villainizing people for not getting vaccinated. Period, the end, bottom line, end of discussion. Now, I want to move on and I want to talk about the outrage. Seems like every week there's outrage. I want to talk about the outrage over Meek Mill's marketing bus. The artwork that was portrayed on the bus was made by a black woman. And while there is a video going viral of a Caucasian male speaking about his offense over the artwork and how black women are being portrayed, Meek Mill responded saying, I'm wondering and I'm very cautious about how black women are portrayed, but also I'm wondering, did that person that made that video had the same upheaval about George Floyd and other people that have dealt with acts of racist terrorism? Basically, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not saying what Meek Mill said word for word, but I'm basically paraphrasing. And while Meek Mill had a good reply, and that was a good reply to what that guy was raving about, it becomes a bigger conversation. everybody has to reevaluate what they do at this point, especially when it comes to how we portray women, ethnic women, in the media, in art, in history. We have to make sure that there's some type of standard to make sure that we are not over-sexualizing Black women. We are not demonizing Black women. And we are not terrorizing Black women through the images that we use to coach them that they have to be this way in order to get to what they want. They have to be over-sexualized to get what they want. It's a never-ending cycle for a lot of African-American girls in this society when they look at certain videos. And truth be told, doesn't matter if it's R&B, hip-hop, rock music. Sometimes, and a lot of times in those music genres, they are portrayed and over-sexualized on a grand scale. So now, parents really have to sit down with their children and coach them about the importance of their body, how their body is a temple, what they should watch out for, what they should do, and walk in a sense of class, in a sense of ethics, in a sense of morals that protects the very essence of who they are. Yelling at these kids or yelling at these women is not going to change the issue. It's only going to shut them down and make them not want to come to you for advice or for a solution. We have to read the room in an effort to make the climate better. Should we hold those accountable who are participating in the over-sexualization of Black women, the demonizing of Black women? Absolutely. Totally understand that. However, a lot of the principles also start at home. I will say this. I do feel like there's an attack on strict parents. And I'm not talking about parents that demonize their children, beat their children up, snatch the very essence and the soul and the innocence of a child. I'm not talking about an abusive parent. I'm talking about a parent that cares about their child, that maybe has some strict rules for a purpose. I do feel like at times that they get villainized as well for being too strict. I came from strict parents. I want you in here by a certain time. I don't want you out. And also watch what you're dressing like. And I'm a dude. So if I got that talk, better believe in my family, every woman got that talk. There was a standard, there were ethics, and there were morals that we lived by, that we had to handle certain things in a certain way when it comes to having self-respect for yourself. And when we saw images that were the opposite of that, because we were trained, we recognized, oh, that's not me. I recognized it quickly. I'm not the guy that's going to turn around and over-sexualize myself to get what I want. And that does happen. That still is happening. Even by the time I say it, it has already happened probably 5,000 or 6,000 times. The reality of the situation is, and this is bigger than the Meek Mill bus scandal. The reality of the situation is that at what point do we teach our young people what to watch out for, what to guard yourself for, what to look out for, what's predatory, what's not predatory. If you are feeling uncomfortable about something, say it. These are certain situations that when young women, young men, children, when they get to that situation, they need coaching. They need somebody to reinforce their confidence, but also make them aware of what stuff is going on. Otherwise, it's going to be a vicious cycle where people are just being used as sexual objects or eye candy at a time and at an age where they shouldn't maybe be viewed that way. We, as a generation that knows better, should coach our kids and should instill in our kids a sense of class, a sense of grace, and also explaining the importance of self-worth that they hold within themselves. You are worthy of something. You are not just some object for people to use. When the time comes and I have children, whenever I'm blessed, whenever that time comes, that is exactly what I'm going to instill in my children. You have self-worth. You are not just some fleshy object for a bunch of people to use. That's not what you were raised to be. You were raised to be a leader. You were raised to be a thought provoker, and also make sure that people are not being divisive, and also to carry out your plan in this world, which you're called to do. But you're supposed to do it with a sense of grace. Do not sacrifice the very essence of who you are for somebody else's gain. Think about it, right? How many times have we heard, and I know this doesn't happen all the time, but it's happened a lot. How many times have we heard models get taken advantage of, both men and women, in risque photos that they were not comfortable with? And they didn't feel confident enough to speak up because they are worried about my status, my place in line could get pushed back a bit if I say something or stand up. What about the actors and actresses that at times get sexualized and even horribly sexually assaulted and abused on set and behind closed doors, that went years holding that pain and didn't say nothing due to losing your position or losing a certain level of status? The reason why I'm bringing up this issue is because the images, whether it's from a bus or a CD cover or a movie poster, any piece of art that is self-expressive, if a generation is raised up uncoached on what their self-worth is in this society, in this day and age, it's going to be a problem. Because you're going to have a bunch of young people and a bunch of people that when they get older, they are not going to know the very essence of who they are. They're going to think, I got to use my body to get what I want. Don't care about how the photos look. I sex sells all the time. It's true. Till you wake up one morning and lose your self-worth. And you don't realize it till you hit rock bottom. The reason why some parents are strict, the reason why some parents are very hey, are very like, hey, make it simple and plain. These are the details. You want to know why they're very authoritative? Because they don't want their child to ever have to hit rock bottom to finally get the lesson. That's time wasted. That's confidence shattered a bit. That's going to take God knows how long to get back. If they get it back, depending on the situation. What could possibly start out as a piece of artwork, if you leave it to somebody that's uncoached and doesn't know their self-worth yet, or is just discovering their self-worth, could lead potentially down a path to total destruction. We have to think about that. We have to move with a sense of decency and honor all the time. That's what we have to do. That's what we're trained to do. We cannot sit over here and just think that, oh, well, this poster ain't hurt nobody. It's just self-expression. Yeah, it's self-expression. But what happens when little Timmy thinks that all women are sexual objects and they need to just pop their stuff out for a real one? You see how, any different people can get hurt from that type of thinking? And we sit over here and go, that's just the way it is. We can't do that. I can't do that. And you shouldn't either. Everything that you do affects someone, good or bad. Case in point, John Gruden. After a slew of emails that were racist, misogynist, and sexist, and also featured homophobic slurs, he was resigning as the Raiders head coach. A series of emails thrown out for the world to see, for the higher ups to see. How do you think it made the athletes feel? How do you think it makes the staff feel? Here's the one thing, and I've worked with several people. Some people have been great, and I appreciate them. Some people, I will never trust them again. The one thing that I've learned working with a management team or working with somebody that's management over me, and the hard lesson about that is management will say exactly how they feel about you and about your work when you are not in a room. And by the time you find out, it's too late. Damage is done. That is the harsh reality of this situation. We sit over here and get very, very upset in the workplace. Over things like this. But whole time, if a person is acting in that bit of hatred and saying things that are very convoluted, it's only a matter of time before it gets revealed. What's done in the dark always brings to light. I'm going to say it again. What's done in the dark always comes to light. We sit over here and we look at this, and this incident is going to bring more investigations on higher-ups and staff relations within the NFL. It's just a matter of time. in my personal opinion, I don't think John Gruden is the first one sending hateful things, sending things with homophobic slurs in there, saying things with sexist remarks, saying things with misogynist remarks. I don't think he's the first one. Definitely don't think he's the last one. We'll probably hear more. And a lot of you probably will be shocked once we find out who that is. It's crazy to me. This is a time where we are supposed to be united, understanding each other, really getting together our thoughts, really sitting down and really figuring out, gee, what do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish? And we can't even do that sometimes due to life. And sometimes when situations go down like that and we sit down and look at a whole lot of stuff, we get very, very down on ourselves. We get down on ourselves. And this is where you need to check in on your friends. This is where you need to check in on your friends. I'm going to read this real quick. I have the iPad in front of me. So if you see me looking down, don't be worried about anything. During the fall and winter time, more people are triggered with depression. Always check in on your friends from time to time, especially this season. This season, look, when leaves start going down and it starts looking kind of, trees ain't got no leaves on them, it's starting to look like desolate, especially around the holiday season. That is the perfect time. You have got to check on your friends, seeing how they doing. If I ain't spoke to some people in a while, I definitely got to check in and ask, hey, how are you doing? You guys okay? Excuse me. Stuff like that. And I just want to read this to you real quick so you understand. These are some of the moods you want to look out for those who are struggling with depression. Depression may cause a mood of anxiety, apathy, general discontent, and guilt, and hopelessness, loss of interest or pleasure in activities, mood swings, or sadness. From a behavioral standpoint, the person can get agitated, excessive crying, irritability, restlessness, or social isolation is a big one. When people don't want to be around anybody, that is definitely a big one. That is a huge sign that may be happening. In terms of sleep, early waking, excess sleeping, insomnia, or restless sleep. Whole body will be in excessive hunger, fatigue, or loss of appetite. Also, lack of concentration, slowness in activity, or thoughts of suicide. That is potentially be a big one. If you catch anybody having suicidal thoughts, please access the suicide hotline in the description, wherever you can find it, below or to the sides or to the top. Let us know. Also, weight gain or weight loss, also poor appetite, or repeatedly going over thoughts. Folks, we sit over here and we talk about the number of issues that people go through. And I've recently have been talking with several individuals, and everybody goes through it. Depression is not gender bias, it's not race bias, it's not biased against anybody. It can happen and hit to anybody. And we ask that you have grace, we ask that you have a sense of poise to actually look out for the people that are struggling with this. This is not an easy thing for anybody to go to. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where you have to really, really have a sense of empathy for what people are dealing with. Because it is crazy. It is definitely crazy. So I just want to put that out there. And also, if you're in a relationship with somebody that's dealing with depression, ladies, I just want to give you a little tidbit around here. If you're dealing with a man that is dealing with depression, please have patience. Please have patience. I'm going to say that again. Please have patience. Because lately I have been on social media and there have been a lot of conversations about men and women in the relations. Now, one of the biggest things that came up over the weekend over a conversation that I had with multiple people is, especially for those of you who kind of be in circles on Clubhouse, was why do men shut down when they are in the middle of just having a bad day, or it's just trauma or something along those lines? Why are they not opening up to more women? Here is a couple of things that I read. So I want to give this credit to Dunsworth, Gabriel, via Twitter. He opened up a broad conversation about this subject. This is a broad generalization because it's highly dependent on the woman's critical thinking and objectivity. Men will generally open up when there is security and knowledgeable feedback and contributions instead of rejection and humiliation. There are supportive women helping out there too. Men open up at initial stages of the relationship. They get shut down and she turns the conversation about her. Now, these are certain instances that they are discussing and talking about, so I'm just reading. This is somebody totally different. Men open up at the initial stages of the relationship. They get shut down and she turns the conversation about her. Women vent while men talk to find solutions to a problem. When a woman responds to his expressed issues as venting, he'll never open up to you. Before you know it, you become social media content when your relationship is over. About, I once dated this guy, they reduced his salary and at work, that man didn't stop complaining and I knew I deserved better. Once she is done with you, your struggles become content. Jeez, yikes. And these screenshots are from the IG page Spiritual World for those of you that want to look at them. So for those of you who want to take a look at that, go ahead, take a look at that. Because of a lot of women have made it very undoubtedly clear that suffering or financial weakness is not acceptable in a partner. This hurts us both. Then there's a possibility that she has shown an inability to deal with hardships, so telling her won't make a difference. Yikes. The issue isn't men shutting out their partners. The issue is, if I tell you what I'm going through, what would it help? Just another sorry babe and small hug? Thanks. Because the second I share my deepest fears with you is the second that my mental image you have of me, once surely poise and strength, takes a hit. Then my weakness can be aired in a future disagreement, or even used as he spelled something weird here, as a CUDGEL to shock me into submission. I agree this is not an ideal or healthy pattern. However, the fact that this thought ends with "it's unfair" means you feel it's STH he's doing to you. But it's not about you. Women need to separate themselves from the situation if you're going to help out at all. If you're going to be helpful at all. Because y'all don't tend to understand most times, it just make it seem about you. Because I need space to myself doesn't mean I don't love a lady or I don't have affection. Sometimes the moment of solitude is just needed for me to gather enough inspiration to get ideas for stuff. The answer to this question is in the tweet itself. She doesn't even have the self-awareness to realize it. First paragraph, the man has the problem. He's going through stuff. Second line, she made it about herself. It's unfair to you, right? Why do men shut their partners out even when they're going through stuff? It's unfair. Because at some point, you'll use it against them, whether it's intentional or not. Because at some point, you will use it against them, whether intentional or not. Because women you don't know, certain things can't be said, and when said, they can't be taken back. Sorry, just won't cut it. There is nothing more toxic than I tell you something and then you turn it into a joke right after I tell you something. I can't tell you something anymore. Or you make it about you. Ladies, if you've done this before, if you don't want to fess up, and I'm not trying to be Kevin Samuels up here. I'm not trying to do that. Just a little joke. I'm not trying to hate bash all women, but some women have seen him done that. Gotta stop doing that. We go through a lot. It's taxing. It is true about us. We will do things to find solutions. We will do things to figure out what we have to do to be self-sufficient. We will do things and try to figure out things and try to have conversations to figure out how we can be better. And if you're not going to have a conversation that's going to uplift us, because whether some of y'all know it or not, men need word of encouragement now more than ever. This is the first time in life where I feel like men are allowed to really be open about where they're at mentally. Before, it was shut up, hold those emotions in, stop crying, be a man. Where did that get us? That got us in anger management classes and throwing a freaking fit because you're breaking down mentally. That's what that got us. That's not healthy long term. So the one thing that we have to do is we have to be very, very careful of what we say towards a man that's really trying, or what we say towards somebody that we're in a relationship with. Like, we have to really be careful, because you could say or do something and they will always remember it. They may not get back at you right then and there, but they're always going to remember it. So we have to be very careful about what we do. And words have power. Words can start movements and also tear movements apart. Words can inspire people to rise up and be greater. Words can also tear down and hurt and steal somebody's greatness. And you have to figure out what side you want to be on. You can't straddle the fence. You can't inspire somebody over here and tear down somebody over here. It don't work that way. It don't work that way, because it's going to reflect on your character poorly. Everything that I just read right here is a bunch of men that have been frustrated with how they have been treated in a certain relationship at a certain point at a certain time. Everything that I just read. And they still haven't forgotten some of those issues. So now we're in a situation where men are going to be afraid to open up. And I've had moments where I told somebody something, they go a little bit too far with a joke. I can't tell you something anymore because you're taking it too far. I can't tell you something anymore because you're taking it too far. I told you this for a private situation, and you throwing it up against my face. Can't tell you something anymore. That is a pet peeve of mine. If somebody throws up something in my face and it was something private, that'd be the last time I tell you something. You ask, My response will be, it's my business. Ain't nobody else's. Because I can't trust you to encourage me when I open up to you to have my back. I just don't trust. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. And when it gets to that point, you're gonna have a lot of problems in your relationship and even in your friendships. This is not just a relationship thing. This is also gonna be a friendship thing too. We have to get back to a sense of standards, morals, and ethics. If we really say we about helping people, and we really about helping our families, and really doing stuff and moving forward and really helping people out, then let's do that. But don't do that. Don't say one thing and do another thing. I hate people that do that. I know what y'all gonna say. Hate is a strong word. No, I'm gonna say it. I hate people that turn around and they say one thing and do another. I cut people off for doing that. If you're gonna keep lying to me, there's no point of talking to you. You have a choice of how you're going to use your words. You have a choice of what decisions you're going to make. You can either stand for something or fall for anything. Choice is up to you. Make a decision today. Think about it tonight. Figure out what you want to do. Figure out what side you want to be on. And understand that when it's all said and done, whatever side you picked, that's your legacy. With all due respect, I appreciate you guys for listening to this podcast. And I know I said a lot of very blunt opinions. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening to another episode of Audio Airstrike. We will be back next week with another episode. And we are close and on our way to hitting our 200th episode, which we will have something special for, a lot of surprises, familiar guests that used to come on the show. Some blast from the past people. So yeah, I'll definitely for sure make the 200th episode of Audio Airstrike a memorable one. Well, until then, we'll catch you on the next episode on our way to 200, and we will be back. Y'all take care.